Most Canadians think the penalty for missing April 30th is 5%. That is what the CRA puts on the front page of their website. 5% of your balance owing. It sounds manageable. It sounds like the kind of thing you could deal with later, but 5% is not the real number. The real number, the total cost of missing this deadline, is something the CRA buries across 6 different pages of their website in language designed to make your eyes glaze over. For a Canadian family with 2 children, the actual cost of missing April 30th can exceed $16,000 in the first 12 months, not over a lifetime, in 1 year. And the worst part is this: most of that cost has nothing to do with the penalty itself. Today, I am going to walk you through exactly what happens the moment you miss this deadline. Not the simplified version, the full chain of consequences that the CRA does not put in one place. Because if they did, every Canadian would file on time. My name is Andrew Graves. I cover Canadian tax law and CRA enforcement, specifically the rules that affect ordinary Canadians but are never explained in plain language. Let me take you through what happens on May 1st if you have not filed your return. The moment the clock passes midnight on April 30th, 3 things activate simultaneously. The first is the late filing penalty. Under Section 162, subsection 1 of the Income Tax Act, the CRA applies an immediate 5% penalty on your entire unpaid balance, not on your total income, on whatever you owe. If your balance owing is $10,000, you wake up on May 1st already owing $10,500. The second is interest. The CRA's prescribed interest rate for the second quarter of 2026 is 7%, and it does not compound annually like your mortgage or your car loan. It compounds daily. Every single day, your balance grows, and the next day's interest is calculated on the new, larger amount. The third, and this is the one almost nobody talks about, is the benefit freeze. The CRA administers over a dozen benefit programs: the Canada Child Benefit, the GST HST credit, the Ontario Trillium Benefit, the BC Climate Action Tax Credit, the Alberta Child and Family Benefit. All of them require you to have filed your most recent tax return. The moment you are flagged as a non-filer, those payments stop, not reduced, stopped. And here is what makes this particularly dangerous. The CRA does not send you a warning before they freeze your benefits. There is no letter that says, file in the next 30 days or your payments will stop. They simply stop arriving. For families who depend on the Canada Child Benefit to cover groceries, rent, childcare, that silence is the first sign that something has gone wrong. And by then, the penalties have already been accumulating for weeks. Now, let me tell you about the part that genuinely surprises most people I speak to. There are 2 penalty tiers in the Income Tax Act. Most Canadians only know about the first one. Tier 1 is what I just described. 5% of your balance owing, plus 1% for every additional full month your return is late, up to 12 months. That means the maximum first-time penalty is 17% of your balance. On a $10,000 balance, that is $1,700. That is significant, but it is not $16,000. Tier 2 is different. Under Section 162, subsection 2, if the CRA has assessed a late filing penalty against you in any of the previous 3 tax years, and if they have issued you a demand to file, the penalty doubles 10% of your balance owing immediately, plus 2% for every additional full month for up to 20 months. That is a maximum penalty of 50% of whatever you owe. Half your tax debt added on top as a penalty. And Here is the part that catches people. You do not have to have been deliberately evasive. You do not have to have been audited. You simply have to have been late before, once in the last 3 years. That is all it takes to qualify for the repeat offender tier. The CRA does not advertise this. They do not send you a letter saying, you were late in 2024, so if you are late again this year, your penalty will double. They simply apply it when you file. I have spoken to people who were shocked to receive a notice of assessment showing a $4,000 penalty on what they thought was a routine, late filing. They had no idea the repeat offender provision existed because the CRA never told them. Let me talk about the interest because most people dramatically underestimate how it works. 7% sounds like a credit card rate. It is not. The CRA's interest compounds daily. That means every 24 hours, the interest you owe is recalculated, not just on your original balance, but on the accumulated interest as well. On a $10,000 balance, after 1 month, you owe an additional $57. That does not sound catastrophic, but after 6 months, you are at $10,346. After a full year, $700 in interest alone. Now layer the penalties on top. If you are a first-time late filer with a $10,000 balance and you file 6 months late, you owe $500 in initial penalty, $600 in monthly penalties, $172 in compound interest. Total, $1,272 in penalties and interest on top of the $10,000 you already owed. But that is not the number that should concern you, because so far we have only talked about the money you owe the CRA. We have not talked about the money the CRA owes you. This is where the real cost lives. And this is what the CRA never puts in the same paragraph as the penalty information. The Canada Child Benefit pays eligible families up to $7,997 per year for each child under 6, and up to $6,748 per year for each child between 6 and 17. For a family with 2 children, one under 6 and one in elementary school, that is $14,745 per year, paid monthly, tax-free. The moment you are flagged as a non-filer, those payments stop. The GST HST credit pays up to $680 per year for a couple, plus $179 per child. That is another $1,038 for our family of 4. Then there are provincial credits. In Ontario, the Trillium benefit can be over $1,000. In British Columbia, the Climate Action Tax Credit. In Alberta, the Child and Family Benefit, all frozen. For that same family of 4, the total annual benefits at risk exceed $16,000. Let me say that again. By not filing a tax return, which for most Canadians is free, takes an hour with tax software, and does not require you to pay anything, you can lose access to $16,000 in annual benefits. And here is the detail that makes this even worse. Both spouses must file. If one partner files on time and the other does not, the entire family's benefits are frozen. One missing return freezes the payments for both adults and all children. I have seen families lose 3, 4, 5 months of Canada Child Benefit payments because one spouse forgot to file. That is $3,000 or more in delayed payments because of a return that would have taken 45 minutes. Let me show you what this looks like when it compounds over time, because the CRA's penalty system is designed to escalate. Imagine a self-employed Canadian who owes $20,000 in tax. They are busy. April passes. They think they will get to it next month. First time after 6 months, they owe $1,000 in initial penalty, plus $1,200 in monthly penalties, plus $344 in compound interest. Add in 4 months of frozen benefits. Total additional cost over $5,000. Now imagine the same person was also late 2 years ago. Same balance, same 6 months late. Under section 1622, the penalty is now $2,000 immediately, plus $2,400 in monthly penalties at the double rate, plus the same interest and benefit freeze. Total additional cost over $8,600. And if they let it run to the maximum 20 months without filing, the penalty alone on a $20,000 balance hits $10,000. Half of what they originally owed added on top. This is not theoretical. The CRA assessed over $230 million in late filing penalties in the most recent fiscal year. Millions of Canadians are paying these costs every single year. Here's what I want you to take away from this, because there is good news buried in all of this. Step 1, file on time, even if you cannot pay. This is the single most important thing I can tell you. The 5% penalty and the 1% monthly penalty only apply if you have a balance owing and you file late. If you file on time but cannot pay, you still owe interest on the unpaid balance, but the penalty is eliminated entirely. That alone saves you $1,700 on a $10,000 balance. Step 2, if you owe and cannot pay, call the CRA and set up a payment arrangement. They will not tell you this unprompted, but they do offer installment plans, and while you are on an approved payment arrangement, they will not take collection action against you. Step 3, if you have extenuating circumstances, medical emergency, natural disaster, CRA processing delays, you can apply for taxpayer relief under subsection 2203(1) of the Income Tax Act. This allows the CRA to waive or cancel penalties and interest. It is not guaranteed, but it exists. Step 4, make sure both you and your spouse file. Even if one of you has no income, even if the return is simple, file it. One missing return freezes the family's entire benefit stream. There is no partial freeze. It is all or nothing. Step 5, file electronically. The CRA processes electronic returns in approximately 2 weeks. Paper returns take 8 weeks or more. If your benefits are already frozen because of a previous late filing, electronic filing is the fastest way to get them reinstated. April 30th is 18 days away as I am recording this. The CRA does not send reminders. They do not call you. They do not text you. They simply start the clock on May 1st, and every day after that costs you money. If you are watching this and you have not filed yet, this is your reminder, not from the CRA, from me. File your return. Even if it is messy, even if you think you owe, even if you are missing a slip, a late amendment is infinitely cheaper than a late filing. And if you are in a situation where you have been late before and you are worried about the repeat offender penalty, talk to an accountant. Today, not next week. If you found this useful, subscribe. I put out new videos every week breaking down the CRA rules that affect ordinary Canadians, the ones they do not explain in plain language. I will see you in the next one.